Alright, so welcome to the second episode of this video, and in this video we will be building a front-end side of our project or the website of our application, which was a real estate application. So in this video I'll start by updating one of the things, because currently this is what we have. We just generated this admin panel, and we have these two resources for on Filament, which the admin will use to manage the properties and to manage the inquiries. So here, as you can see, to create a new property, it will be a tiresome task. So as you can see, we have a lot of things that we need to fill it. So what I decided is to show you how you can create a comprehensive and a complete factory, and then we can just use that to generate dummy data, so that we can be able to generate some of the dummy data that will be like an example, so that we can test it on our front-end side or the website side. So what we will do, I'll just generate one of the factory for properties. So I'll just say PHP and make factory. Then I'll give the name of the factory, which will be property factory. Okay, so so this actually we created it when we were creating the model. So if you didn't do that, you should be able to create it by using this way. But currently already we have it. So navigate to the databases, then you can see on factories already we have created the two. So this one will be for property. So this is the one that we are going to update it. So what you can do here, the first thing will be to create some of the functions that will be helpful for generating our data. So what I'll do, I'll be pasting some of the code, and then I will be explaining them one by one, and then after that we will see at the end how they generate the dummy data. Okay, so the first code that I'll paste will be the following. So I'll paste it up here. Okay, so what I'm doing here, you can see we have this thing called the type, and as you can see here, we are using this faker. As you know, this is used for generating dummy data, and it is generated actually it is included automatic in Laravel development. As you can see here, it is only required when you are doing the development. So this faker is the one that we are using to generate these fake datas or dummy datas. Okay, so this faker will allow you to access this helper method, which is called the random element, and basically it has a lot of functions. You can see that the function, but you can see here we have a lot of functions. Like if you type name, you see these are the methods that you can access from this faker. Okay, so that is concerning with the name, but you can have the one for city, you can see. So these all are found from this one. So if you want to generate, let's say, a credit card number, all these will be the fake details. Okay, so those are just the functions that you can use, but for now we need to use the random element, which actually accepts an array. So you can see it accepts an array. That's why here you see we have the array of the type of property that we have. So this is just defining the type of property, and we have passed the type of properties as we have on our model, as you can see, or on our migration. So from the migration, on type of this, you see we have this apartment. So let me just put it side by side so that we can be able to see if there is anything that is different. Okay, so here you see, so let me go this one, yeah, that way. So here we have the house, and from here we have the house, apartment. The apartment is right there. We have the condo, now is here. We have the townhouse is here. We have the land, which is right here. we have the villa, and which is this one. Also we have the commercial, which is this one. So all of these are good, but also we have the listing type, which is either sell or rent. As you can see from here too, we have for sale and also for rent. So that's what we are doing here. So what I'm doing is just to create these arrays, and from this array means the faker will get one item and then it will assign here from these random elements. Okay, so it will just pick one and then it will assign it here. Similar way to the city. So as you can see, these are the cities here in Tanzania, so you can just change them accordingly to your country. Okay, so these are from Tanzania basically. And after that, now we'll bring another thing. So here it will be a way to generate the base price for each of this type of property. So here I will just paste the following code. Alright, so here as you can see, I've pasted this code, which means we have the pricing based on type and listing. Okay, so here we've defined this batching method, or you can just call it like a keyword, and from this it's just a certain type of function, which basically you have to define a variable which will be getting the value that will be returned by this method. So this method or function, what it does, it accepts a parameter and then it will be just checking that parameter against this first, or we just call it the index of these values. So it will check this one against this one, and after that, if they match, it will return the value that is coming from the right side of this expression, as you can see. So if let's say the type is house, and here it matches with this one, so means the price will be get from this one to this one. Okay, and then the value that will be generated from here will be returned to this basic price, and then that basic price is the one that we are going to use down here. So we're just going to say rent prices typically monthly. Okay, so if they are monthly, so means we're just going to use the following method. But basically I just want to simplify things, because what I'm trying to do here is like instead of let's say renting a house, let's say for buying a house it can be this price, because this is just I've just put this value because this will be in Tanzanian shillings, so it will be in Tanzanian shillings. Okay, so that's why you see this is a lot of money. Okay, but okay, so what I'm trying to do here, because if the property is being rented, means the price should be lower, like someone is paying per month, right? So if you are paying per month, so means you have to reduce the value. So to reduce the value, I will just simplify it by dividing the value that will be generated here by 100. Okay, so this is just a simplification, but you can do something other than this. So what I'm doing is just to declare the variable, and then from listing type, if the listing type is sell or rent, but if it happens it is a rent, means we are just going to perform the following functionality. So we are just going to get the base price, which is this one that will be generated here, and then we are dividing it by 100. So dividing it by 100, let's say if the value was this one, okay, that was generated here, so the base price was this one. So dividing by 100 means you are going to reduce these two zeros, so it will remain with this value that is a little bit lower. Okay, so that will be the amount that the user will see as a price of renting this particular property. So that's how easy I've just to do that, but you can do something like a way to be more complex, and if let's say you want to generate it in the other way around. But this is because I'm just want to generate this fake data. So I think this is the best way to do it. Okay, so after that, now let's say we want to generate the title. So to generate a title of our property, so I'll just use the following method, which I'll call it generate property title. So when I'm using this one, means that this method will define it here. So it will be a private method or private function, and it accepts two methods, parameters. The one will be the type, and the second one will be the city. Okay, so it will be coming from here. So let's generate this method basically. Okay, so that method will be the following. So I'll just paste it here, down here. Okay, so as you can see, this is the method, and I've said this will be a private method or private function. Then it will be called the generate property title. It accepts a string type and a string city. So you can see it is type hinted to be a string which should return a string value. And from here, you see it has the adjectives and the adjectives. So the adjectives means it can be modern, luxury, spacious, beautiful, stunning, executive, premium, and elegant. So you can use those type of adjectives to present the something in your title. Okay, so let's say someone wants the luxury houses. So by using that adjective, it will always attract someone who is more interested with the luxury properties. So from that, the adjectives, then we get the adjectives from these adjectives. So this is the array, so we pass it on this random element. So what I'm doing here is just, you can even take this whole array and then you paste it here, so it will be the same thing. But what I'm doing here is just to make the code to look a little bit clean. Okay, so that's why I passed these adjectives there, and then from that we're just going to use the faker, and it will get the random value, let's say luxury, and then that luxury will be here. Okay, then after that we use the same method, which is match, and then from the match it will check if the type that is passed here is, let's say, a house. Okay, so if it is a house, the adjectives maybe can be modern, family, house, in, let's say, city, which will be passed here. So it is just simple like that. So let's continue with the other thing. Okay, so after we've been able to pass that function, so now let me just paste how the data will be looking here on our array that will be returned, and then after that I'll show you how to generate other fields down here, or other functions that will be required on our data. So let me just paste this code that I've already prepared for you guys. Okay, this is quite easy. So the first thing will be to import this string, which is our helper method. Okay, and from here you can see this is how we get the title, because the title is being generated as I've explained. And from here we are just generating the slug, and that slug is generated by using this string method. Then we get this function called the slug, and then as you can see, that slug method or function, it requires the title. It has a separator that you can customize. It also it can accept English as a default language, but you can change that if you want to generate it in other ways of language. But also it has a dictionary. Okay, so you can just differentiate with me, but the concept is quite easy. Okay, then here we have this method which is called the generated description. So I'm just going to show you how to generate that, or I'm just going to show you how it is. So first thing, let me show you how to add that method. So let me paste it down here. Okay, so this is the method, and as you can see, it accepts one parameter which is called the type. So if the type is house, so you can see this is just a generated explanation that will be used as a description here. Also, we have the type. So this type will be basically the type that is coming from here. Here we have the listing type that also is coming from here. Also, we have the status. So the status is actually we are generating it from the random elements, and the elements are like this one. Okay, so you can see we have available. Why this is more repeated, so this should be like this way. Okay, so it should be like that one. So let's see from here. Status, we have available, sold, pending, draft, and rented. Let's see from here. Rented, pending, draft. Okay, so we have draft here. Yeah, so we have the draft, and after that we have this price, which is our price that I've already shown you from here. So if it is a rent, the price will be divided by 100, but if it's not rented, it is for sale, means the price will be taken as generated here. Okay, and after that we need to have the address. So let me show you how to get the address. Basically, this is a method that is coming from Faker, so that we don't have to generate it. So Faker automatically will generate a random street address. Okay, then after that we have the city, which is coming from here. Okay, also we have the state, which is coming from here. So as I've mentioned, so this will be used here at the city and also at the state, because in Tanzania we don't have the city and the state, so this will be the same values. Okay, and then after that the country will be Tanzania, and you can change it to your certain country. And here we have the postal code, so this will be generated automatically by using the Faker, and it is optional, as you can see. And here we have the latitude, and we have this method get latitude for city, and it accepts the city. So let me just show you that. Okay, let me paste it down here. So this is the method, which is called the get latitude for city, and it accepts this one. And from here you can see it is just generating these values, but also I can just generate the one for generating the latitude. Okay, so this is for the latitude, this is for the longitude, and what you can see is just for the Dar es Salaam. Let's say we're generating that random float, which is the number of maximum decimals can be 6, and then the minimum value will be this one, and the maximum value will be this one. So it will generate it between those values, so it will be changing these values. So because this is just for fake data generation, so that's why even for the longitude I've just generated it like that way. So latitude and longitude is done. Now let's see for the bedrooms. So if it's the land, so the bedrooms should be null, because on the land you cannot have the bedrooms actually. So if it's a house, means if it's the other thing other than land, so means it can be an apartment, condo, townhouse, villa. So those should have the number of rooms or bedrooms. Similarly to the bathrooms, so it will just generate a random number between 1 and 6. This is 1 and 4. Also we have the total area, so this will be a fake number between this one and this one. Built here, if it's the land, we should make it to be null, because on the land this should not have a built here. And if it's not a land, means it is built, so we should have a year from this one to this one. Okay, so we can generate up to that one, or even if 25. Okay, after that then we have the furnished, so we put the boolean value. Okay, so this is the chance of getting true, so we put it to be 30. So if the chance of being true is 30, means that is the occurrence that this will likely to be occurred. Okay, so after that we have the parking, so the chance we get it to be 70%. So this is a little bit higher than this. So most of the values that will be generated on here will be false, means they will not be furnished, but for this most of them will be true, because the chance of occurrence is quite high. The parking space, similar way, we have this one. So the parking space, we have get that one to be true, and basically what it does, it will generate this value from here up to here. But if that's fake, means that the faker generated a null value, means that should be null. Okay, here we have the features, and on features we have this method called the generate features. So let me paste that a little bit quickly. Okay, down here. Okay, so this is the method, and as you can see, it accepts a type as a parameter, and from here you can see the common features. It is security, parking, water, electricity. You can add more, and from here you see, so specific features, you can see we will check the type, and if the type, let's say, is a house or a villa, so this will be the features that it will have. And you can see for, let's say, land, should be fenced, road access, title deed, and survey plan, and all of that. So also we have the default. If all of this is not matched, so this will be the default values that will be returned. Okay, and then after that, all features, you just do an array merge, and from the array merge, you are just merging the common features, which is this one, and the specific features. Okay, so you just combine them to get a single array, and then from that all features, from here we are getting the random elements of those all features, and then we generate the actually the selected features. You will just put that in a random element, and from there we'll just check if the number is between 3 and 7, and then that is the array that we are going to return. So from here we are returning the unique array. Okay, so if the values are repetitive, so we will just get the unique arrays, and that is the value that will be returned by this method. So that will be the value that will be returned here. Okay, so for the image, so this way you can populate that manually, so I'll just leave it that way. So for the metadatas, because on this particular video I'll not show you how to use them, but you can just use them as you want, but for now I'll just leave it this way. So you just generate the title, the meta title, and also the meta description, and is featured, you just check by using this one. So I've already showed you why we use this percentage of occurrence, the featured. So here we have this, you see. So basically on here, if this is featured, means we are just going to get the time, date time between now and 3 months later. And we have the contact here, you see you get the name, and the contact phone, you see you get with the phone number, and for the contact we get the email. Okay, so these are the methods that are used here, but we have also other method, because let's say you want to use the following methods. So I just put them here, like is featured, sold, and for rent. For example, if you want to use them by any means, you can just utilize them from here. So you can see we have the featured, so it check if that is featured, as you can see up here. So is featured, you can see, so you can use it here if you want, basically. So for now, means that all of this is will be working fine. So what I'm going to do is just to reference that factory here on our seeder. So I'll just close that one, and from here I'll just call the property seeder. So let me call the property seeder. Basically what you can do, instead of calling it this way, we can just call the property model, and then what we can do, we can just say factory. Let's say we want to generate 50 houses or properties. Okay, let's import this method, property, which is our model. Okay, and after that, now let's try to run the seeding. So let's do the run php @db seed. Okay, duplicate entry for this one. Okay, so what I can do, I can just clean up. I guess there is duplicate that has been generated. Prime land for sale in Arusha for key. Okay, that unique. Okay, so what we can do here, basically there should be some of the properties that has already been generated. Yeah, so you can see, so almost like 25 of properties has already been generated, but it happens that the slug has been repetitive. So when it will be repetitive, means actually it will return this error, because on property we said the slug should be unique, if you remember that. So the slug, where is the slug? This one, you can see. So the slug is unique. So when the slug will be generated, like you can see here, it says prime land for sale in Arusha. So if it return that in twice, so that means it will give you an error like that one. Okay, so you can just let's say remove that value like this one from the database if you want to continue to generate those values. But for me, because already I have this like fake data that I can use, so this is quite easy. And this money, I want to change this one to be in Tanzanian shillings, so I'll just change this currency. So let me just show you how to do that. So I'll just close all of these, and let me go to the property resource, and then from the table, and here on the price we're just going to use the Tanzanian shillings. Okay, also for this one, and now let's go back into refresh. Yeah, so now it is in Tanzanian shillings, and as you can see, so the hidden or the toggable fields are right here. You can just make them active or inactive, so just do as what you think. Okay, so now we have everything good. So what we are going to do next is to build the front end part. Okay, because already we have the details that we can use on our front end as a sample, so this is quite good. So now let's go to the front end and start to build it from scratch. Alright, so the first step will be to generate the Livewire components. Because we have already installed the FilamentPHP into our application, means Livewire is already available in our Laravel application. So basically you can see from the composer.json, we don't have Livewire installed here, but as long as FilamentPHP is installed, means Livewire is already available. So what you can do is just to run the following command. So php @make Livewire. Then the name of the component will be property listing. Okay, after that we need to have another one for contact form. Right, so as you can see, it generated two files, the component class and the blade file. So let's go and start to edit the property listing. So this is our property listing component, and from here we are going to have the following properties. So on here we are just going to have the first property will be the search, because we are going to implement the search functionality. We are going to have a way to get the minimum and maximum prices. So let me just make them to be strings. Okay, so this should be max price. Okay, all of these are going to be used on filtering and searching functionality, as I've shown you on the demo. So other than that, we are going to have another public property called the type. So this will be the type of listing, and then the other one will be the listing type. Okay, so just put this way. Yeah, let me just put it to be an empty string. We should have another one for minimum bedrooms. So let's say minimum bedrooms, and let's say another one for featured only. Let's say that should be false, and then we have the other ones for sorting. Let's say we have public sort by, let's use the field called the created at. Also, let's have the sorting direction, and then we can say that should be descending by default. And then we have the public, the view mode. Let's say view mode, and by default it should be in a grid, as I've shown you. So means there will be stacks, like one of the stack here, the second one, and the third one. So this will be in a grid, and then after that we are going to be able to change that view mode to listing, so that we can have the first one, the second one, and the third one in a column, but this one it should be in a row. Okay. All right, so after that, after having the view mode, now we are going to have the following code. So on here, what we are doing, we are creating this query string, and what it does, this query string will be synchronizing with the browser's properties. So this will be the public properties, as you can see, are the properties that we have already defined here. So these properties will be synchronized with the browser properties. So whenever, let's say, you put a search on let's say here, when the user put a search, is when we are going to show that query parameter into our browser. So for example, if user is searching for something, like he has searched for something, that's when we are going to say like query, something like query, then we are going to pass the or let's say search, see, then we are going to pass something like name. Okay, but if the user is not searching, means this is empty, like this one, so we are not supposed to show this query string. So if we are not supposed to show that query string, that means is why we are going to use this functionality of saying on query string, when the search will be empty, we are not going to show it. So that's why we are using except. So means we are just going to show this query string except when it is empty. So whenever this search is empty, we are not going to show it on our query string of our browser. like this one. So if it is empty like this one, we are not going to show it from the browser. So that will be applied similarly to other query. So for example, for this type, listing type, even for the page. So when the page, let's say you have paginated your code, your product or the properties, and you want to show only when the page is not the first page. So if you have paginated to, let's say, 100 of pages, so whenever it is page 1, you don't want to show it, so it will start to show it when the page starts from 2, let's say, to 3, and so on. Okay, so that is why we have this one. But if you don't put this one, so means this will be shown even if let's say a user has just searched for nothing. Okay, so that's a pretty good thing that you can do, but it's not mandatory. So it's an optional thing that you can do, but it's a good practice to have it because it controls how you show the query strings for your browsers. Okay, and now after that, we are just going to have the following lifecycle hook method. So if you have never heard about the lifecycle hooks of Livewire, so you can just go through the Livewire documentation. So for example, if we go through Livewire here, so I can show you that pretty quickly. So let's go to Livewire 3 here, and let's go here. And here we can see we have this section talking about lifecycle hooks, and from here you can see we have different kind of hook methods and their description. Okay, so from the example we have already seen about the mount and like boot, hydrate, but here what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this updating method. So this will be called before updating a component property. So whenever you are doing an update, so means this will run before the update has been completed. Okay, so that's a way of doing. But if we want to update it after the updation is complete, so this will be the perfect one to use. So for now, I just want to control on how the query or the changes on these public properties, when they are being applied, I want to control them. So the first thing that I want to control is whenever you change something, like you change right now, let's say you are searching, so I want to reset other feeds, like I want to reset the whole page for clarity. So that's why because our property listing is supposed to be refreshed before you can start to filter it by another filter. Okay, so I want to refresh the page before we filter it with another filter, unless otherwise you use all the filters by yourself. So for now, I'm just going to paste some of the methods that we are going to use to reset those properties. So I'm just going to paste it down here. So here you can see I've added this method called the updating search, and you can see from this updating search, you see I've called this method. So I'm going to show you how to define that method. So when you are updating the search, means when we are updating this public property. So this is the actually a way of defining this lifecycle hook method. So updating, then you just put something like this. Okay, so that's what is explained from the Livewire documentation. If you get time to visit it, so that's what will be defined here. Okay, so let's say, for example, for updating. So updating, actually what you are doing is just to do like something the similar way to this updated. So the other way around is like the public property was username. So here when you are defining it, so you are saying updated username, and this is start with the capital letter, even though here it is a small letter. Okay, so when you are defining it through this method, so this is the right way to do it. Okay, so the similar thing we are using it here. So you see we are saying updating, then search. So the search should be in a camel case. Okay, so that's a syntax for that. similar way to when you're updating type, all of the up to here. Okay, so for example, updating featured only, which is here. Okay, so all of this will be calling this method. So now let's see this method, what it contains. Okay, so basically you cannot use this method if you have not paginated your data. Okay, so because if you go and check from Livewire documentation, this reset page is only applied when you wanted to reset the listing of your data, and it is only available when you have paginated your data. So what you are going to do is supposedly to add here the use with pagination. Okay, and after having this one means this method now will be available, and what it does is whenever you are changing any public property from here, so we need to reset the pagination. So for example, the user was on page 3 of pagination, and when you are starting to search, means we need to reset the page, means we need to go back to the page 1 so that the user can start to search those details from the page 1. So that's why we are using these methods, and we are just calling the reset page. So this is a similar way to all of these public properties that we have already defined up here. Okay, so that's fine. Now the other thing that we are going to do is we are going to have another method that will be used for sorting. Okay, so for example, on the demo I showed you how you can resort the data. So that method will be the following method. So we are going to define a method called the sort by. So let's define that method. So public function sort by, and this will accept the field. So basically it will be something like this one. So it will accept the field that you are sorting with. Okay, and then after that it will have a check of if conditions. So it will have an if else condition. So on if, it will check the sort by that you have already defined here. Okay, and it will check if it is equal to the field that you are checking from here. Okay, so if they are equal means the sort direction should be ascending. If that sort direction is ascending by default, so whenever you are checking that, remember here by default we said the sort direction is descending. Okay, so here what we are doing, we're just going to check if this field is similar to the sort by field that we have from there above on our public property. We're just going to do the following. So the sort direction now should be the sort direction that we have currently. If it is in ascending, means we are going to give it the descending, but other way around means if this is not in ascending, means we need to change it from descending to ascending. So that's why you see we are using these operators. Like this is like an if condition, so this is just a simplified if condition. So it will just check if the current sort direction is ascending, it will assign it with descending, else it will assign it with the ascending. So that's what is being doing here. Okay, on else condition, if these are not the same, means we are just going to update the sort by that field. So the sort by, if currently was the created add, so we are just going to update it to the new field that we have passed here. So it will be assigned here. After that, then we need to sort it by ascending order. So we're just going to update it, and after that everything will be returned back to that sorting direction, and then we are going to reset the page. So means the pagination, we are going to reset it so that the user, the listing will be updated. Okay, and then that's all about the sorting mechanism. But if you remember, we had a button that was used to clear the filters. Okay, so we have that button for clearing filters. So we're just going to define a method called clear filters, and then it's just we are going to reset all of the properties that we have already defined up there. Okay, so we are just going to reset them, then we are going to reset the page, and then we are going to have something like this. Okay, so what we are doing is just to call the reset method, and if you find that reset method from the Livewire documentation, so that is used to reset actually you can check that from this documentation. Let's try to search it for it, reset. So actually that is used on properties. So you can see this is the way of resetting the properties. For example, you've defined this array, and then you want to, this one. So this is the to do. So it should be this one. So you have defined it, but let's say you have updated that its value, and then you have assigned it to this particular array. So means you need to reset this property so that it can accept another data. Okay, so to reset it means you are going to clear it by using this reset, so it will return it back to the initial state. So if it was empty, it will be returned to empty. If it was a 0, let's say if it was an integer, so it will be returned back to its original property or state. Okay, so that's what we are going to do here. Okay, and then we are just going to reset the pagination. Okay, so that's all about the clearing of filtering, but also we had another one for changing the view mode of listing. So as I've mentioned, we are going to have two type of view mode. So we are going to have the grid and the list. So what we are going to do here is just to define a method called the set view mode, and then we are going to pass the name of the mode that we want to control, and then after that we are just going to assign that mode to the public property called the view mode. Okay, so the view mode already we have defined here, and by default we set it to grid. Okay, so if the user change it, let's say to list, so that list will be here, means it will be assigned to that public property, so that was will be updated to the view that we are going to have in a minute. Okay, and then after that we're just going to have the following computed properties. So these computed properties will be helpful. So it will be computed properties. So we are going to have a couple of computed properties. So the first one will be a computed property that will be helpful for listing properties, and it will control when you are doing all the filtering and everything that you want to use it when you are rendering those data here. So I'm going to show you how you're going to pass them here, but how to define them is by using the computed methods. So to use the computed properties, you just need to define the following method. So let's say public function properties. Okay, and after that we're just going to give it an attribute. So we're just going to use this attribute called the computed, which is this one. So import it, and it should be good. So make sure that you have imported it from up here, you see, like this one. Yeah, and after that now you can be able to use this computed attribute as I've shown you here. So what we are going to do, so if you want to understand about these computed properties, so this is like a way of creating the derived properties or the derived let's say data. So if you want to understand more about computed properties, so there is this section in Livewire documentation you can see here. So these are a way to create derived properties in Livewire. So it's like an accessor on an eloquent model. So basically we are querying the data from eloquent model, and then the computed properties allows you to access the values and catch them for future access during the request. So basically computed properties are particularly useful in combination with the components public properties is what we have right now. So you can see you can use this with public properties, so it will be just a way good of doing it. So for now, as you can see, we have this computed property that is called the properties. So let's work on it, what should be inside it, and then we can be able to start to build the front end. Okay, so the first thing that should be inside here is we are going to return property. So this is our model, okay, and then from this model we are going to use the query, okay, and then after that query we are just going to get all the available data or properties. So we're just going to get all the available properties. So import that model, import the property model, okay. So we are just going to have something like that, which is this one. So this should be the available. So if you go to the property, which is our model, if you search for available, so you can see here we have this scope called the available. So what it does, it just check for the status for all the properties that they are available and they are active, okay. So that is what we are going to have from here, okay. And then after that we need also to have a way of paginating this data. So let's say paginate, then we are, let's say we need to paginate by 6 properties at a time, okay. And after that, because we already defined the sorting mechanism, like you can see here, so also we need to sort our data from here. So we can just say order by, then we need to pass the the sorting column and the sorting direction. So the sort column should be this one, which will be defined here, okay. And then after that we need to have the sorting direction, which will be determined by this public property called the sorting direction, and it is also being updated by using this one, okay. So that's how easy you can just do that. So for now means we're just going to have the properties listing that is available on this particular property, this property listing blade file, okay. So now let's try to create this property listing. Now what I'll do, I'll just paste the code for this blade file here so that we can simplify this coding session. So let me just paste the code that I've already prepared for you. So let me go back to this here. So this is the code, and as you can see I have this outer div. Let me just collapse some of the divs. So I have this outer div which I've made it to be respecting the themes. So like we have the background for light and dark theme, okay. So on dark theme we are using the neutral of 900, and on light theme means we are going to the gray of 50 value, okay. Also we have this header section, which is you see it says find your dream property, and then you see discover the best real estate properties in Tanzania, but you can change that to the name or the text that you want. So this will be the header section that you will be seeing from the browser basically. And after that we have this main content. Let me just try to squeeze, let's say to collapse, so that we can understand what is going on here. Okay, let me squeeze it. Yeah, like that. So here you can see we have this main content, and it has been wrapped by this div, and after that we started to show the filters. So here we have the filter section, which is compiled into this div, Then after that we have this grid, which is used to show the filters. So we have different kind of filters, like we have the search, the property type, the listing type, the city, and other filters that are collapsed. So you can see here we have the advanced filters like price range, we have the minimum bedrooms, we have the featured toggle, yeah, and after that we have this action for clearing the filters, and after that we have the view model, which is the view model top for changing it from grid, let's say, to list. So you can see here it is grid, then this is listing. So these are the buttons for changing the view mode actually. And after that, now we have this result header. So when you are doing the filtering or you are doing the searching, so this will be the results that will be shown. So you can see here, this is the text that we have, which will say, let's say we found a certain number of properties from that search or filter that you have applied. And from here, if there is any of this filter, so we are going to say we have filters applied, okay? And after that, we have this sort option. So this sort option is basically which will be used to sort data. Let's say for the newest, we are going to use the created at. For price, we are going to sort them based on the price. For name, we are going to sort them based on the title. We are just going to sort them according to the city, and after that we need to have the button for changing the sorting direction. So you can see this will be for ascending and this one will be for descending, okay? And after that, down here we have the property grid or listing. So now we are going to check if there is any property that is coming from here, okay? We are going to check if there is, it is the number of properties, if you count them from the property or the computed property, if it is greater than 0, means we are just going to check for the view mode. So if the view mode is grid, means we are going to apply the grid, as you can see up to here. So this is the styling for making this to be a grid. But if it is not a grid, it is on listing, so we are just going to do the spacing. So we are just going to do the spacing on the y-axis, okay? So here, after we have been able to determine the grid, the view mode, then we are going to run to look through these properties that we have, and we are going to generate this property. And after that, we check if the view mode is grid. So we are just going to have this div, which we are going to show the details of our property. So from here, we are going to show the main image of that particular property. So I'm just going to show you how we can upload those main image and other images that are not main, okay? And after that, if we don't have the main image, means we are going to show the default or the placeholder for the icon. So we are just going to use the icon that I've already showed you from the model here. We have a couple of icons like this one, you see. So we have these icons that we are going to use them as the default icons from here, okay? So you can see that we have the get type icon attribute. So that is the one that we are going to use it here, okay? And after that, we are going to have this if condition that checks if this property is featured, and if it is featured, we are going to show this text which says it is featured. And remember, this is on grid mode, and you will also we have this another text that will be determining if to show if that is a sell or rent. So if it is for sale, means the background should be green, or when it is on rent, the background should be blue. And after that, other things remain the same, and here we're just going to show the type of listing. So remember, the type of listing, we have the rent and sell, so that's why we need to control it here, okay? And then after that, we have this another div. As you can see, it starts from there up to here. And on this one, we're just going to show the details of that particular property. So you can see we have the title, address, we have the formatted price, we have the price per square feet. So if we have that price per square feet, that means we are going to just to format that price into this way. So it means we just want to remove the decimal places. So you see the decimal places should be 0, and after that we are going to check if the property has the bedrooms, or it has the bathroom, or it has the total area. So we are going to show them like this way. So we're just going to create a simple flexi item. This is the div which is in flex, and then you are going to center those items that will be inside. So we have the bedrooms, you see that is the icon that I've used. We have the bathrooms, that is the icon that will be used to show the number of bathrooms. And for the total area, we're just going to use that triangular ruler that will be used to show that this is the total area of that particular property. And after that, we are going to have this action or the URL that is called the view details, and that will direct us to this particular route that we are going to generate it in a minute. But also we are binding the property slug. Remember, we are getting that slug from here, so we are generating that slug from the model here. So you see, this is the way that I've explained it to you. That is how we are generating the slug. So that slug is the one that we are going to use it here. Okay, and if the view mode is not grid, means from here you see we have an else condition. So means if it is on listing view and not in the grid. So we are just going to do the other way around. So similar things that we have from there, but here it is just going to change to listing type. Okay, so you can see we have the main images before, we have the is featured, we have the title, we have the address, we have the bedrooms. All of the other things remain the same. The only thing that changes is how you are going to do this, because now it is not on grid as we had here. Okay, so up here when it is on grid, so we have something like this, but down here we are changing this code. So you can just pass through these codes and understand this Tailwind CSS method that you've used, or the Tailwind classes that you've applied, so that you can be able to use them correctly. Okay, so this code will be available in my GitHub repository, so that you can be able to see everything from scratch, and if there is anything that is not working as expected, you can be able to track it from here. Okay, but also we have this pagination, so we are showing the links of pagination by using this properties. Then we access the links method, which will automatically render the pagination icon, or I mean the pagination file, or the pagination links. Okay, and after that we have this else condition, which means if the count of our properties here it is not greater than 0, so we are just going to say there is no any result that is found, and we can also be able to clear the filters. So this clear filters will call the clear filters method, which is this one, so that will clear the all the properties. So because we are just suggesting to the user to clear or to adjust the search criteria or anything, or clearing some filters, so that they can be able to see all the properties. But if there is nothing, so we can just say no properties found. But if you can see from here, we have more than what we have already defined here on filters. But for now, let's just try to see what it will give us. So let's go to the routes here, and now let's create the route. So we're just going to say route get, then we are going to say properties. This should not be controller, that should be property listing, so property listing, then that should be a class like that one. And now let's try to visit this page and see what it will give us. So let me just let me go to the properties. Yeah, so here you can see it says we don't have this variable called the property types. So we have some of the data that we didn't define them yet. So what we are going to do is just to add those methods down here. So for example, let's define that method down here. So we are just going to use the computed property to define that. So we are just going to use the computed, then the property types, but remember we have this method called get property types from the model, which will just check for these details and it will return. So for house it will return this one, for apartment it will return that, and so forth. So if we go back here and try to refresh, means that error should be gone. Let's expect for other thing. So it still says property types. Okay, now let's see. Okay, so basically what you need to do is just to pass that here. So means that is not accessible to that page. So we can just do something like this. So we can access that from here because this is a computed property. So as I've mentioned before, the computed property it will help you to access this data from the Eloquent model, and then you can catch them so that you can be able to use them later on the same request. So here on the similar request, when you are just computing them, so you need to use them like this way. So here we can get the properties and also we can get the property types. So now if we refresh, means that we should change. So the error should be another one, you see. So we have the listing types. So remember we have that listing type method that we have already defined from the previous session. So I'll just paste it here. Okay, so you can see we have the listing type, a similar way as we do for property types. So here we have the sale and rent. Okay, so that's easy how you can do that, and now add it here. Okay, and then after that, if you go back here, so that error should be gone. Yep, now we need to have the cities. So for the cities, now let's also use the computed property and let's do the following. So you see for the cities, we're just going to call these cities, and then you see we are just calling the available properties, and then we are going to select the city column, and then we use the distinct. So means if the cities are repetitive, so we are just going to filter them and get only the unique one, and then we are going to order by city, then we are going to plug the city column. After that, remember to pass it here so that it can be accessible to our blade file, and then if you refresh, now that should be gone. Yep, so here you see now the error is we need to pass these details to our view. So what we are going to do is just to do the following. Here it says undefined variable city. Let's check from here. So we don't have the city. Okay, I guess now we should be defining the city property from here. Yeah, so that should be defined there, and also okay, here we have it. So it is right there, and updating city is right there. So now if we go back in the refresh, that should work. Yeah, so you see, so now we need to have this route which is called the property show. Okay, so let's define that. So now let's go to the web.php here, And for property showing, so for show, we are going to use the following way. So what we are going to do is to define a route, then a get, then we are going to say properties, then we are just going to bind the following slug, and basically here we don't need this one, it is not like this one, and then here we are just going to do the following. So we are going to have a function which will be like a callback function, which will accept the property okay, and then after that, now let's push down up to here, and then we're just going to say is this should only show the available properties. Okay, so what you are going to do is to say if property is available. Okay, so we are going to call that method because we already defined that in our model. So instead of saying if it is available, so we are just going to say if it is not available. Okay, and then after that we are just going to abort, then we are going to show the 404 page. Okay, so that will be the error message or the error page, and then after that we're just going to return the following page. Okay, so we are just going to create this page called the properties.show. So means you need to go to the views and create this page, which will be .blade.php. Okay, so it means it will be inside. Okay, let me change that. It should be properties. It should be like this one, but this should be inside another directory called the properties. So let me just paste that, something like that, and then I'll move this one into this one. So I'll move it inside here, then move. Yeah, so now it is on a good way, so that here you see now it is clickable. So if I click that, you see I've been redirected to this page. Okay, and then after that, now let's go to this page, and basically now already we have this page, which is this route called the properties.show. So now here we should be able to see that page shown, but because we are using the Livewire method, so this is property.show, property, let's see, property.show, not properties. Okay, let's copy that and find it here. Now refresh. Yeah, so I expected this error because here we are using the full page component rendering. Okay, so as long as you are doing this, means Livewire will automatically require a component for this page to be, or for this Livewire component to be referenced at the full page component. So to do so, you just need to run the following command in your terminal. So just say php @livewire, then you're just going to say layout. Okay, so this will create a layout file, which is a blade file, which will act as the layout for our components. So let's see. Yeah, so you can see this is the page that has been created, and you can see it has been created inside the components, then layouts, and then you can see it is called the app.blade.php. php. So from here you see there is this new directory called the components, then layout, then app.blade.php. So this is the page that has been created. So means all the Livewire component will be rendered inside here, and their title will be rendered by using this title property. So now let's go back and refresh. Yeah, so now you can see we have this listing of our properties, and as you can see, we see all of the things that we defined, you see. But the thing that you see here, it is not styled. Why? Because we don't have the compiled assets of our component. So to do so, we're just going to use node for compiling our properties. Means all the styling that we have applied here from Tailwind CSS should be compiled. So to do so, let me create another terminal that I'm going to use run this command. So npm run dev. So this will let's say it will compile the assets. So it will compile the JavaScript and CSS, and after that we should be able to see the compiled version of our system. But that will not gonna happen because here we need to reference it on our layout. So how we are going to reference it? Basically because currently when you create the Livewire application, means it is going to, or just when you create a Laravel 12 application, it is going to come with vite.config. I mean, this vite is coming as a default tool that is going to be used to compile the assets, means the Tailwind, CSS, and the JavaScript. So that is how we are going to use it. So to use it means we need to reference it into this page. So to reference it, we are just going to use the following way. So let's use the vite directive. So let's say vite, okay, and then we're going to say pass the place where we are going to get those CSS. So it will be like this one, app.css. Then we are going to have also for JavaScript, it should be on resources. Okay, then /app, JS /app.js. Okay, so that should be resources even here. Okay, and then after that, let's go back to the page and try to refresh. See, so now it is loading, and you can see now we have the amazing thing that we have already wanted to see. Okay, so now you can see this is the page. You can see find your dream property, discover the best real estate opportunities in Tanzania. So this was the header that I've shown you from here. So that is the header that we had here. Okay, and on main content, you see the first content will be the filter section, and you can see here we have that filter section here. See, so we have the search, property type, listing type, we have the cities, the minimum price, the maximum price, number of bedrooms, the featured only. You see a way of changing this or switching this view mode. So here you see we have the featured, we have this for sale, you see, so this is for sale, then this one is for rent. Okay, and also we have this view detail. If you click it, now it should direct you to this route. As you can see, the beautiful apartment in Mbeya. So this is actually the slug that was generated. And if you remember, on our web.php here, we were just passing we are just binding the property slug. So on the showblade file, we didn't have anything. That's why we don't see something from there. Okay, that's why you see a blank page. But let's go back, and from here, you see, so these are all the things that we need to do. But from here, basically we need to have a navigation on top here so that the user can be able to navigate. And if you remember, we had the footer down here. So to add those, we need to update actually the layout, which is this one. So we need to update it with the following things. So the first thing will be to add the navigation. So let's add the navigation first, which will be shown on top of our component. So let's put that there, and then now if we go back here and refresh, now you see we have this top bar. As you can see, this is the navigation that we have added, and it is this one. So you see this is the nav tag, and you can see it has been styled. Here we have the home, which is properties, then index, you see, so that is the home of property listing. And then we have this one for real estate app, which is the logo or the text that you see here, but is clickable, because if you click it, it will direct you back to this page. Okay, but here you have this one that will also redirect to this, because we are redirecting back to all properties. And if you say for sale, means you are just going to filter this data to sell. And here you can see the query string has been updated as long as we have clicked each of these details. For example, if I say featured, you can see, yeah, so it is trying to update those query strings. Okay, so now you don't see these details being updated. Why? Because actually what it happens is because we didn't perform the functionality for applying the filters to the data. Okay, so on your data here, you can see from properties here, we only fetched all the available properties, but we didn't apply the anything about filtering. So what we are going to do is to create a way to filter our data. So to filter our data here, so the first step will be to check if the user has searched for something. Okay, so we are just going to use the when method. So we are just going to use the when method, and this will check if the search property has something. So when means it is checking when the value is available. So when the value is available, we are just going to call this a callback function. This callback function will get that query that will be passed as a parameter, and then it will return this query, which you will check or it will pass a where condition from this method, and then it will apply another callback function which will accept that query. And then after that, from that query is where we are going to search for title. It will be like the searched value that has been passed, you see. Also, we are going to search the same text into description, and then we are going to search for that same property or search field component into the address. So this is how we are going to use the search functionality. So now if we go back here and refresh, so let's say, let me remove this one first, see, and refresh. Okay, so now for example, if we try to search for something here, so for example, let's search for this one. Okay, now paste that, you see, so the search functionality has been applied successfully. So you can see from the listing we have only one property, so you can see one property found, and you see there is this with the filters applied. So this will only be appeared if when you have any filter, and here you see this clear all filters is now active, so we can be able to clear it, and after clearing it you can see the properties found now it is 4 and not 1. Okay, so that's how easy you can just apply the filters. So for search now it is working fine, but if you change these other ones, you see nothing is changing. So to do so means we need to also apply the filtering for other types. So here we're just going to have another one for when the type is changing. Okay, So when the type is changing, we are just going to use the following method. So I'll just paste some of the key things that we are going to filter, and then we are just going to explain each at a time. Okay, so here we have this when condition, which is actually we'll check for the type that is defined on the public property that we have already defined, and then from this callback method we're just going to pass that query, and then we're just going to say use this by type. So this by type, this is a local scope. So when I'm saying the local scope, means it is already defined here on our model. See, so by type means it is accepting the query and the type, and then it is going to check where the type is equals to this one. Okay, so that's what is being happening here. So when the user change the type, that's when we are going to check for this method. So we are just going to call it. So this is the local scope. It is going to filter or to add that constraint to the query parameter, and then it is going to filter our data using the type. So now if we go back here and change this type, let's say to apartment, you see now the filter is applied. But if you change for other, you see the filter is not applied as we expected. Okay, so now let's also see for when the listing type is updated. So what is happening here is just to get that listing type, and we pass it here, and after that the callback method gets the query, and then it is going to check if the listing type is sell, then we are going to get the for sale. So we're just going to call this one, you see, and if it is for rent, it means we are just going to get this one. Okay, so this actually return the type, all the type of properties that are in rent. Okay, and now you see this will be the method. And now, so if you change this one, let's say for rent, you should be able to see the details being filtered. Okay, and you can clear the filters. You can see all the filters are gone. Okay, so now the next filter will be this one for city. We have this one defined. We have for minimum price, maximum price, minimum bedrooms, featured only. You can see here if we are going to check if it is featured, and all of these I've already explained it on my previous video. So it is just going to check for that condition, and it will apply it into our query here. Okay, so for the order by and paginate, I've already showed you that. Okay, but currently now you see here we have paginated our properties into 6 data, but you only see 4 properties. So what is happening, basically most of the properties will be disabled, or they are not active. That's why you don't see them there. So let's see, active is active, so all of these are active. Okay, let's see. So those are active. Yeah, so you can see most of them are sold, some are rented. So for example, you can just update some of them. So let me go back to the first page, let's say. Okay, so only the available ones are now shown. So let's update this one, let's say to available. So let's go to the edit page and change the status to available, and then save. Yeah, so this is saved now. So if I go back to the properties, now I should be able to see that added here. See, so now it is added, and that's how easy you can just do that. But we want to see how the pagination looks like, so let's update more. So let's say admin, then the properties, and from here let's also make this one to be available. now let's go back. Okay, now let's make this one, let's say available to. Yeah, so now I guess the pagination should work. And yeah, so you see, so we've paginated 6 out of 7 active properties. So that's why here you see there is page 1 and page 2. And as you can see, on page 1 we don't see the query string, but if we go to page 2, you see the query string is right there. So that will be guided by this protected query string that we defined right here. Okay. So other these things is the similar way as I've explained to you. So you just need to check this and make sure you have the same thing as what I had on my code here. We are going to see on how you can show the details of your property. So for example, for now, you can see this is the card that shows the details of our property. But now if user try to click this view details, okay, so now you see it will direct you to this page, which is actually doing it right, because we already defined that route for it. So it is right here. So this one, so we have already defined that route, okay. But now on this view, you can see it is empty. So we defined that view, but it is empty. Well, that's why you see here a blank screen. So what we are going to do in this section is to fill all the code that is required so that we can be able to showcase the property details. So here, let's start by editing this here. So what I'm going to start with is to add the app layout. So I'm going to say app layout. Okay, and then this way, and then it will close like that way. And then if we go back here, then if you refresh, you should be able to see the layout, you see. So this is the layout that we have already defined it into our application. So you can see this is the layout which is found inside the components, then layouts. So you can see from here, so it is inside the components layout, then this one. So this is the layout that we defined. So it has the links, all that we need. It has this name of real estate, which is this one, you see. So if you want to change this logo, you can update that and have your own logo here. So this is the custom app layout that we have created so that all the Livewire component can be rendered from it, okay. So here, since we have that layout already shown here, so the next step is to show the details of our property. So to do so, let me just paste some of the code that I've already prepared for you. So here I'll have a div, so it will be something like this, okay. So this will be a div that we are going to have. So you can see, because now we are in dark mode, so means here it will check for the background, because this will be applied when you are on light mode, and this one will be applied when you are on dark mode. That's why you see it takes the 950 gray coloration, you see, okay. And after that, now the next thing is to have a breadcrumb. So the breadcrumb, what it has, I'll just show you. So this will be the breadcrumb, you see. So this will be the breadcrumb that will be shown on your property show page, okay. So here what it have, we are going to have a simple navigation, and this navigation will show the properties link. So this will be the link that when user click, they will be directed back to the listing of our properties, because we said this will be properties.index, which means they will be directed to this listing page, okay. And when after that, we are going to have this slash, which is inside the span, okay. So this will act as a separator, and then after that we are going to have another link, which is this one, which will be helpful to show the city of this particular property. So which city but does this particular property belongs to? So you can see here we are showing the city, and that city means when the user will click that, they will be redirected back to the properties.index, but with this particular filter. So it will direct back to the listing, but it will filter the properties according to the city that has been populated here. So I'll show you that in action. And then after that, we have another separator, and then we have the title of that particular property. So now if we go back here and see, you see, so this is how it looks like. So we have these properties, which is a link, which basically points to property listing. Here we have the city that this particular property belongs to. Okay, so and I've said when you click this one, it will direct you back to the properties, but it will filter the properties based on this particular city. So for now, let's try by clicking this one. You see, we've been redirected to the property listing. And if we go back to the view detail and click this particular city name, so if I click that, you see, so here we have the filter that has been shown, and here you can see all the properties that you see, they will be based on that particular city, you see. So this is the city that all of these are belonging to. So that is just a simplest way of adding a breadcrumb on your properties. So let's go back to that particular property, and this is how it looks like. Then at the end, we have the name of that particular property. So that was the first thing that we need to add. And then after that, we need to have another div. So in this div, what we are going to have is to have the main content of our page. Okay, so the main content of our page means we are going to list all the details that belongs to this particular property. So let me just paste them, and then we are going to see on how it looks like. Okay, so the first thing will be to have that, let's say, main content. Oh, this should not be here. So main content. Okay, and after that, let me paste it, and then I'll start to explain to you one by one. So this, you can see, this is the section for the main content, and from here, let me just try to squeeze so I can collapse this so that we can understand it well. All right, so now if we go back here, you see, so this is where the main content div starts, and from here we have this grid that we've defined, and it will have 3 columns, and we have a gap of 8 only on large screens. So after that, here we define the main content, that is this div, and we have that span of 2 on large screens, and after that we have the property header, which will adapt to the light and background, I mean on dark mode. So here you can see the background will be light or white when you have a light mode, and it will be of dark gray of 800 when this will be in dark mode. Okay, and after that, other stylings, so this you can just change and update it based on your needs. And after that, we have this div that contains the name, I mean the title of our property, and then the address of our property. So all of these icons are just there for just to decorate it, but you can change that if you want. So I guess that is fine. And then down here we have this particular div which will show if our property is featured. So if it is featured, so you will have here an if condition, and it will check if that particular property is featured. So this is featured, we already defined it in our model, so you can just check that from the properties, and you can just check it from here. So is featured, you can see this is the method that we have already defined it, and it is one of the helper method that we defined. You see there is others for is available. So if it is featured, means we are going to check if it is featured. So if it is not, means we are going to return a false. But if it is featured, so means we are going to check the featured until, because this is the field that stop the date of this particular property. So if you put it to be featured, so you have to define it will be featured for how long. So if that date is on future or it is not empty, so how we can say it is not null, means that it is featured. Okay, so we're just going to check those two conditions. If it is not null, and if the date that is on is featured until it is on future. So if this is future, this is determines if the instance of the particular given time or date is greater than now. Okay, so that will, and this is given by Carbon basically. So that is how that will be used for. So it will help us to determine if this is featured. So if it is featured, means we are going to show this message or this title, which is says it is featured. So you can see the background is in yellow, and we are going to see that coloration shown for the featured property. And down here we have this span, which shows the listing type. Okay, you can see that block, it will have two different colors. So if the listing type is on cell, so the background color will be green. You can see here the background. Then we have this condition that we'll be checking. So it will check if that particular listing type is on sale, it will be green, and if it is on rent, it will be blue. Okay, and then we are going to show the property, the listing type here. Okay, and then after that we have this another div which shows the square feet of that particular property. So we have the price. So this will be the price of the property in general, and then we are going to have the price per square feet. So this price per square feet, actually it will be checked if it is there, means it is not null. So if it is there, so means we are going to format it to this particular format, and we are going to give it like it will be in per square feet. So I'm going to show you that in a moment. Now here we have another div which shows the property images, means we are going to show the images of this particular property. So here you see we have this if condition which checks for the images that we have from the property. So remember when we are defining the table, so that particular column is a JSON field, you see. So this is a JSON field. It means we can store more than one image. So that's why here you see we're checking for the count of the images. So if the image count is greater than 0, means we are going to show the images here. So what we are going to do is just to loop inside these particular images that you are coming from the property, and we are going to define the index and its value, and then after that we are going to use the index to change this styling. So if the index is 0, means that image will act as a main image of our property. So here we are going to apply this change or class, and if it is not, means we are going to remove that styling. So that will help us to determine if this is the main image of the property or not. And then after that we are going to show the actual image. So here is the actual image that we are going to show by using this storage, then URL, then you are passing the image that you have, because in your database the only thing that is stored there is the URL link. Okay, and after that we have this alternative text that will happen, but it will use the index +1, and then after that we're going to have this styling. So if it is on index of 0, means it will be the first image, it should have this height, and if it is not, means the height should be reduced a little. Okay, and after that here on this particular image we have this on click event, which will help open up this model. So it will call this JavaScript function that I've already defined it. So this method, basically, I'll show you in a minute. And after that, if this condition is not true, means we don't have any image on this particular property. So we are going to run this else condition, and this else block will have the following. So this will be a placeholder, and this particular placeholder is the one that we are seeing most of the time. So this will be the icon that we have already defined from the model. So that will be the type of icon that is from model here. We already defined those icons here. So it will get type of icon attribute, and then after that you see this will be the icon that will be shown, okay? And then you will say no images found. So this is all about the images, how you're going to show the images. And after that we have the property details section, and this section have the following details. For example, this will be for bedrooms, so you can just check here, and here we're just going to control if this should be bedrooms or not, because if it is 1 means that should be called the bedroom, and if it is 2 means we should be, let's say, 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms and something like that, okay? So that is concerned with the bedroom, and here we have the icon, but if you want to change that icon, you can use icons that you want. So for example, you can use an SVG icon, and it will just render it great, okay? And after that, we have this, the one for bathroom, and this on bathroom, the same way, we have the icon that shows a little bit something like yeah, so someone is taking a bath there, so you see, so that is the icon. And we have the one for showing the number of bathrooms, and here we have the a way to control the either to be bathrooms or bathroom, okay? So that is how you are going to check it. Similar way for the total area, it will be like that one. For built-in, I mean for built here, if you, this will only be shown if we have the built here for that particular property. And after that, we have the property informations. So here we're just going to see the type of the property, if it is on rental or sale. We have the status, so this status will be shown. So like we can say if it is pending, already rented or sold, so that will be concerned with the status. But also the status will be controlling the color. So we have the status color here. So you can see that color will be applied to all of this so that we can be able to show the status, okay? And after that, we have these two properties, like if the property is furnished and if it has the parking spaces, okay? So if it has the parking spaces, so it will show the number of spaces, or it will just show the availability. And after that, we're going to see if the property has different features. So we are going to check for the features, because that is also a JSON field. So you can see features, it is a JSON field here. So that's why we are using this condition to check if they have any feature, okay? And after that, we are going to list the features and amenities. So here we are going to loop through the features that will be coming from the property, and then we are going to get the property object, which is feature object, and then we are going to show that particular property here, okay? So this will be the styling, and all of this code will be available on my GitHub repository, okay? And after that, we have the property description, which will actually show the details of that particular property. And this particular property, as you remember, we defined it by using the FilamentPHP rich editor. So the rich editor basically stores the data in either HTML or Markdown. You just decide. If you're using the Markdown editor, it means you need to control it by using the way of rendering the Markdown. And as long as now we are using the rich editor, so all of the data that we store for the description will be stored as HTML. So if you store as HTML, so to render it in your blade file or on your blade template, you need to use this syntax. So just have a curly brace and have two exclamation simple, and then after that the description can be shown just fine. And after that we have where you can integrate the location or the map. So you can see we are going to check if we have latitude and longitude, and if we have that, means here you can just show the map. But for now I have just created this div and just to show the coordinates. So I'm going to show the latitude and longitude. So this will be your task as a part of learning. So you can just integrate the Google map, and then you can be able to use it. So that's easy. And here we have this sidebar, and on this sidebar is where we are going to show the contact details of the property owner, or the one that is concerned with this particular property. Okay, so if we want to buy it, means you have to check this particular information. So this will be the information of the owner of that particular property. So you can see we have the contact name, we have the phone, and also we have the email. So all of that will be shown here. And after that we have this contact form Livewire component that we have already defined here. So we've already created it, but we didn't update anything on it. So you can see here it is empty. So means we need to define this on the next couple of minutes. So for now I'll just disable it, and after that here we have the details so that you can be able to call that particular owner of that property. Here we have the email, so you can be able to send the email, and also you can be able to share. So now down here we have the property summary. So the property ID, that will be the ID coming from the database. So the date where this property was listed. So you see we have this div for humans, means it will put something like 5 days ago, like let's say 5 days ago, something like that. Okay, so that is why we're using this div for humans. Okay, and after that we have this type, which will show the type if it is on rent or sell. We have the city, which will show the name of the city, and then the total area of that particular property. So after that you can see we have these two method or functions of JavaScript. So we have this share property, and we have this other one here, let me show you, which is called the open image model. So means we need to have the model of showing the images, and after that we need to define the JavaScript functions. So for the one of open image model, and the one for sharing the property, this one. Okay, so what we are going to do is just to define the model here. So let me just show you. So this will be the model that will be it will help us actually to show the images of that particular property. And when the user click on that particular property, so they can be able to see this model, and on this model we will show the image, and that image will be the image of that particular property. Okay, and after that let's define the we need to have the toaster. So that toaster will be helpful to show the toaster when you perform a certain action. And after that let's have the JavaScript code. So the JavaScript code, I'll paste it here, and then I can explain to you one by one. So the first thing here is to define the function, which is called the open image model, that is already been used up here on here, you see. So open image model, and that particular function will have this image source, which will be the path of that particular image of that property. And then inside it you can see we are getting the element by ID. So we are getting the element by their IDs, and then after that we are just assigning them these particular values. Okay, and after that then we are going to remove the class of hidden. So when you just open this model, means we are going to remove the hidden class of this model. So this model, you can see by default it is hidden, but after clicking the open model means we need to remove that class. So we are going to remove that, means this div will be shown. And when it will be shown means we are going to add this method, class, which is called flex. And after that, the overflow, we are going to hide it. And similar way for the close. So the close means we are going to do the vice versa of this one. So we are going to add the hidden class, and after that we are going to remove the flex. So this will be just the opposite of that particular function. Okay. So we have this show toast method, which will help to show the toaster. And then after that, we have this share property method, which also help us to share our property. So you can just go through these codes, and then you can be able to understand it. And then after that, also when user click an escape key on your keyboard, they can close the model. And after that, they can also click outside the model so that they can be able to close it. So you can see we are giving just add event listener, which will be click. So when the user click just outside of that particular model, so that will be closed. And even when they click escape, so you can see on the key down of escape, so this particular method will be called, and when it will be called means it is going to fire this one. So this will just add the hidden, and then it will remove the flex class. And then after that, we can have a perfect page like this one. Okay, so you see, so this is the page, and you can see it shows that this is premium page, which is this one. So this is the property, and you can see here we have the name, we have the actually the address, we have the price, and you can see it says if it is on sale or rent. We have a way to show the images. So because we don't have any images, that's why we have used this one. And after that, we have the property details. So we have the number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, the square feet means the total area of that particular property, the year that it was built, the property informations. Here we have the features and the amenities. So you can see this particular property has the gym, rooftop, security, water, balcony, parking, and swimming pool. And after that, we have the about, and here this is the about of this particular property. Here is where you are going to integrate the map here. Okay, and then after that, here on the right side, we have this sidebar that shows the contact details of the one that posted this particular property. So here you can see we have the name, phone, and email, as I've explained. And down here we have the quick actions. So we have a way to call, a way to send an email, a way to share the property, and a way to go back to the property listing. So for example, if you click send email, means it is supposed to open the email sending application. So for now, I've just disabled it. But let's say if you want to say share, so now you see the toaster that we have created. So you see, this is the toaster, and that will be copied. So means if you go back to the next tab and print, on paste, you see the link that was copied, and when you click it, you should be able to see that particular property. Okay, so that is a share property method. And on call, this should be opening the call. So you can see open pick an app. So you see, so that will open the way of calling someone. Okay, and after that means we need to show the a way to send a contact form. So for example, you want to send a message to say that I'm interested in this particular property. So you can just use this particular Livewire component that we have commented it. So this one, sidebar, this one. You see, so this is the particular one that we disabled it. But if now we allow it here, so it should actually it doesn't have anything on the view, so that's why you don't see it here. So let's go and update it so that we can be able to understand what is going on. So on the contact form here, we are going to have the following code. So the first thing will be to define the properties that we should need. So I'm going to define the following. So the first one will be the property model. So let me import that property model. It will be this one. And then after that, we define the name of the property, the name of the user that you want to send the email. We have the email, the phone number, the message, and a way to show the success message. Okay. And after that, let's define the rules for validation so that user cannot send an empty email. So here we're going to check for the name. It should be required, the email, also the message. So all of that will be required. And after that, let's define a mount function. So the mount function should be this one. So let me just paste it here. I just want us to go a little bit quick. So on mount, we want to map this one, which is what the public key property that we define. So we want to map with this one in message so that we can create it with a, let's say, a built-in message so that the user can just see the title and also they can see the formatted price. So all of this will help you to have a reusable property. So when the user visits, the name will change and also the price will change. So for now, let's go on the view and let's show the view. So let's go to the view here and let me remove that. And on the view here, we are going to have the following code. So let me just paste it. Okay. And let me explain it to you. So here on this particular contact form, we are going to have this div that will wrap all of things, and we are going to have this if condition, which will control if we want to show the success message. And here is a way of showing the success message. So you can see we have the SVG icon here. We have the message to say let's say a message was sent successful. We have this button which will help you to either hide or remove the particular success message. And after that, this will be the message that will be shown. And after that, we have this error. So we are going to see if there is any error when we are sending the email or when we are sending the message. And after that, we have this particular submit form. So this form, basically, it's submitted to the Livewire. So means here we need to have a submit method. So let's define that submit method like this one. Oh, let me define it down here. Okay, so let's define it here. So we are going to have the submit method. Here we're going to do the validation because we have already defined the rules. And after that, we are going to have a try and catch block. So on a try means we are going to have a way to create the inquiry because we already defined this table of inquiries. So we need to create the one. So import that. Okay, and after that, you see we are recording the property ID, the name, the email, the phone number, the message, IP address, and also the user agent. And after that, you need to define the mail, so a way of sending the mail. So here you need to have the email of the particular property, so that will be the contact email. So that is the email that we are going to send the email to, because we assume this will be the email of the owner of that particular property. And here we have the mailer, which is a helper method, and it has the true method, which means the user that we are going to receive that email. So we are going to use this particular email here, and after that we are using the queue, but you can send the direct email like this one by using to, but for best practice is a good way to use the queue so that they can be queuable in your database. Okay, and after that, here we need to have this particular mailer class, so we other call it mailable class. So we need to define that. So what you are going to do is just to say php @ make mail, and after that we're going to give the flag of saying markdown. Okay, markdown, and then we are going to define the place where the markdown will be. So it will be on mails, and then we are going to say property, let me just say inquiry email. Okay, right, so here you can see the mail class has been created and it has generated also the markdown. So we are going to update it. So the first step will be to import this class. Okay, and after importing that one means we need to edit this particular class. So from here you can see that we have this constructor, we have this envelope, also we have this content method. So we are going to deal with this one and also this one. So here as you can see it requires to pass the details of the inquiry. So what we are going to do here is to define a public key property here. So let's define the public key property, which should be binded to inquiry model, and then we can say that. So means now this will be passed down here and it will be accessible here. Okay, and after that we need to come over here on the content, and after that we need to add a method called with. Okay, and then we are going to pass the array. Okay, so like this one, so it will be inquiry, then this will be the inquiry that we have already defined here. Okay, so after that let's update this one, which is a markdown file, which is found inside the mails and inquiry mail. So by default it will be this one. So I'm going to update it with the following. So let me update it with the following code. So here you can see we have this which is markdown syntax. So we have this new property inquiry. You say you have received this one. This will show the title. We have the email, that I mean the name of the customer, the email of the customer. If they have the phone, so we will show the phone, and after that this will add the line, and after that we are going to say the message. So this will be the title of the message, and then the title will be this one, I mean the message. So the user will pass their message there, and then from here we are going to show the IP address and the user agent, but this is not required, so you can leave it or put it there. So that will be just for decoration, and after that we have these things, then the name of your application. So currently the name of the application here, we have already defined it to be real estate app, so that will be the one that will be shown here. Okay, and after that now we have everything that we need. So here on this particular property inquiry mailable class, you can see it also use the queuable, so means it can be queuable when you use a queue method here. So this queue method means it will be sent by creating a Laravel jobs, and that job you can just execute it when you want. Okay, so to test this one we need to do the configuration on our .env file for the email. So we need to update these changes here. So what I'm going to do is just to paste the configuration of my email, that I've already defined, and this should be updated to this one. And basically this particular email, I'll just remove this password when this particular video will be published, so that people will not mess up with my email. Okay, and after that, you see we have this mailer to be SMTP. The host should be the smtp.gmail.com, and the port number will be this one. The username will be the email of my one, and then I'll have the password. And after that, the form address will be also the email that I have here. Okay, and after that, now we have everything that we need, so we can be able to test it out. Okay, so now means if we go back here, we have this form that has been added here, you see. So at first we didn't have this field or this form, so this is the form that we have created it by using the contact form Livewire component, which is this one. Okay, so we've seen that it's going to have the input for the name. Here we're going to check if there is any error. We have the input for the email, we have this one, we have the input for the phone number, then we have a text area here for the user to show the message, though the message will be populated automatic like this one, so the user can be able to update it to their own message. Okay, and then after that we have the submit button, and after that we have this particular JavaScript code. So this will maintain the component fidelity. So basically we are going to show the success message, and here you will dispatch just a simple event, and that event will just go and update this show success here on our component. Let me show you. On our Livewire component here, we have defined this one, and after that means when you dispatch that command, it will going to call this one, and after calling it means it will just when that particular code will be timed out, means it is going to call this one hide the success, and after that success message will be hidden automatically. So here now we can be able to test the validation. So for example, I can remove the message and click send. You see it is says sending, and you can see the validation is applied. So you can see the name is required, the email field is required, and you can see the message field is also required. So now means the user can be able to send the message on a way that they want, but if I refresh, that particular message will be populated automatically. So for now, for example, I can send you the email. Let's change this one. For example, basically the email of the one that own this particular property should be the real email, so that we can be able to test it. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to update this particular email. So this is inside our database. So let's go to the real estate, and let's go to the properties. Yeah, I believe it will be what is it is called the premium. This one, let's try to search for this one. Yeah, it is this one. So let's update the email of the contact form, which is this one. So let's update it to the email that is real. So I'm just going to say this one. Okay, just say this one. Okay, so this will be the email, and after that, if I go back here and refresh, that email should be updated. So you see, this is the email. This is actually my active email. So we are going to see how it will look like. So now let me just paste some of the things. So for example, it is coming from that guy. Okay, yeah, and after that, let me send the message. Yeah, you see, so the message was sent successful, but what it is going to happen, it is going to create a job on our database here. You see, so this is the job, and this job will be only sent to our user when we run the following command. Okay, and why we use the queue? Because the sending email can be a long task, so it will just cause other things to stop. So we just want to avoid that. So that's why we use the jobs, so that it can be running on the background without affecting other activities. So here we are going to run the following command. So php @ then queue, then wake. Okay, and after that, that job should be executed. You see, so that job was running. So let's see if it will be done. Yeah, so here you can see the job was done, and after that means the email should be sent to our user, and if I refresh, you see that job is not there now, and the email was sent successful. And let's see if that email was sent successful. And this is my email, so let me log in. Okay, and here you can see I have a new email, which you can see from here. It is from Real Estate app, and if I open it, you see, so this is my email. So you see it says Real Estate app, and here you can see the new property inquiry. So you can see this is how it will look like, and this is our email. So you see the name, the email, and the phone number. After that, the message will be this one. Okay, so you can see that is the message, but you can just try to style it so that it can be shown exactly as we expected. So just try to use the markdown syntax. So that syntax basically you can find it through the Laravel documentation. From there you can be able to understand more about how this thing works. So you can just search for mail. Yeah, and after that you can see the writing markdown messages. So this is the way of adding the markdown messages, and after that, this is how you're going to use the button. This is how you're going to use the panel. Okay, and this is how you're going to define a table. Yeah, so if you want to customize the let's say the components, so this is you need just to push this one, and it will publish the Laravel mail, and after that you can be able to update it. So basically you can just learn more about the markdown from the markdown sites. So if you want to understand more about the basic syntax of markdown, so this is the site that you can use. So I'll pin this on my video description so that you guys can be able to understand what I was trying to say, so that you can be able to update this message to look a little bit nice. So you can see from here, this is how you're going to define the headings. So you just need to use this one. And if you're using the heading level, for example, for heading level 1, so you need to have a single hash. For heading level number 2, you need to use 2 hash here. And similar way you see up to level 6. And also the alternative way of writing the syntax is like this one, but for the HTML you can see the difference between HTML and Markdown, but the output will be the same. You see there is best practices on a paragraph, how you're going to use the line break, and there is more like when you want to bold the text and you want to utilize the text. Okay, so when you want to show the block code, the nested block code like this one, so all of these you'll be able to do them by using the markdown. So just visit this link and you'll be able to use it when you want. Okay, and then after that, now let's go back to the system. We have already seen that the email was sent successful, and even if you try to resend more and more, because Laravel uses the job on the background, so that will not affect other things that you are doing. But for now, we have sent that inquiry, so we want to see if that inquiry will be stored into our database. So to see that, let's go to the admin side. But before that, I want to show you one thing, because when the user will visit this, let's say, application at first without passing anything here, like this one, see, we don't see the properties. So we want to show the user the properties even if they visit this link. So we want to redirect when they visit the domain of our application, so they will be redirected to the properties listing. So what we are going to do is just to do a simple redirection on our routes here. So when user visits this page, we want to redirect it to this particular page. So I'm just going to update this one. So instead of returning the view, so I'm going to say redirect, and then I'm going to redirect it to this particular route. So this will be properties.index, which is this one. So if now I go back here, you see I've been redirected. So even if I remove that and click enter, you see I'll be still redirected to the properties listing. Okay, so that is a good thing. But here on the property listing, you can see from here we see page title. I want to change that, so I'm just going to use the title attribute, title, and then it will be property listing. Okay, yeah, see, so the title of that tab has been updated. And now if I go to the view details, we should be also to able to update that. So let's update that. Okay, actually that we can just leave it that way, because that does not use the Livewire component, so it's just a normal view. So you see, so this is the normal view, and basically it will use the layout, this one. So let's leave it that way. Yeah, so now let's check from the admin side if the inquiry was updated. So let's go to the admin, and now let's log in. Yeah, and here on the inquiries, let's see. Yeah, you see, so there is this inquiry, and you can see the name of the user or the customer, the email, the phone number, IP address, and the user agent. You see, so this is the one. Okay, so after that, you can be able to update some of the things. So for example, on this will actually be your task, as you want to update yourself with the filament. So here you can add an action. That action will help you, let's say, to reply to this particular email. Okay, so that will be your task. So I'll not do it, but for now I'll just update here on the widget. So I'll just show you how to add the widget so that we can see the just a simple analytics of what we have from here. So for example, I can start by adding the counter, so which is called the navigation counter, which will show the amount of what we have. So for example, I can go to the filament version 4. And now let's go to the widgets, and here is where we can be able to create the widget. So for example, I can copy that command. As I've mentioned, I want just to show first the I want to show the number of things that we have on the particular table. So let me just search for it. Navigation. Okay, navigation badge actually. So this is the one. So let me copy it, and let's go to the particular filament property, resources. So on this one, let's add it here. Similar way to the inquiries. Yeah, and now if we go back here and refresh, yeah, you see. So now we see that we have 25 properties and we have one inquiry. And after that, let's add the widgets. So let's go now to the widgets. Yeah, so this will be for generating the stats. So let me just use this one. Let me stop this one. Okay, so this will be PHP artisan make filament widget. Then you have to provide the name of the widget, and then you have to give the flag of the type of widget. So let's click enter, and here I'll click yes, and here I'll say no, so that we can create that widget. So now let's update that widget basing on this example. So on get stats, we are going to use this stats. Okay, let's go to the filament, then widgets, stats widget here, and then I'm going to paste something like this. So for now, if we go back to the dashboard and refresh, you should be able to see the stats, you see, like this one. So now let's update this one. So you can say the number of properties, and from here you can just say property, then count. Okay, and after that, let's say the number of inquiry or number of inquiries. So that should be inquiry, then count, and then after that you can say, let's say, the number of available property. So you can say number of available properties. Okay, and then here you can just say, just to get the property where their status equals to available. Okay, and then after that we can get the count of the available properties. So now if we go back here and refresh, now you see, so the number of properties we have 25, which is exactly the same with this one. The number of inquiries is 1, and the number of available properties is this one. So you can add more. Let's say you want to get the number of, let's say, rented property. So let's say rented. So you can just say rented, refresh, you see. So the number of rented is that one. This should be rented. Okay, refresh. Yeah, so that one. And you can also be able to say the number of sold properties. So sold properties will be equals to sold, refresh, and now you see, so the number of rented, the number of sold properties, and yeah, so like this is just the simplest way you can do the dashboard analytical stats. Okay, but you can add more type of widgets like the table and charts. So for example, for this one you can create the charts like this one. So that is just the simplest way you can do that. Okay, so yeah, so you can just do something like that. But for now, I guess now this everything is fine. The one thing that we want to test is about the images, because we didn't do the image on our test. So let's do that. So for example, let's update the one that is available. So for example, this one, let's update the image. So let's go to the edit. Down here on the images, let's select any of the images. So just update that. You see, so that will be uploaded. Yeah, I can be able to add other more images. So for example, I can add this one and this one. So I'll add 2, and they all will be uploaded in a concurrent way. And the Livewire, Filament is able to accommodate that. And then let's save. Okay, so let's update this one. This should be this way. Save. Yeah, see? So that has been saved. And now if we go back to the properties, yeah, you see? So this is the property, and you can see this is the image of that particular property. Go to the view details, and here you can see we have this property, which will act as the main image, as I've explained to you, and there is these 2 images that will be below it. And the best thing, you can click it and you can see the image in a full way, and you can go to this one, you see? Yeah, and when you click outside, that model will be closed, as I will explain to you. So that's a good thing that we see. Okay, and you can be able to test this one. See, so the validation is working just fine. So basically everything is working fine, and the last thing that we need to add is the footer, because we already have a footer on our platform. So let's add the footer on our layout. So let's go to the layout. So on the components, then this one. So here down below, we need to add the layout. So down here, let me add the footer. So this is the footer, and you can see we have the tag of footer, and you can see the company details. For example, you can just put the name. You can see this is just a simple a vision or just a text that explain your company. Here will be the social links. Here we'll have the quick links, but all of these quick links will have the filtering property, and then you can have the contact details, and then you have the bottom footer. So now if we go back to the application and navigate to this side, you see, so we have this app name, you have the details, you have the quick links, you have the contact, and down here you see the right, and also this will be for copyright, and this one will be for the bottom line. Okay, so this is actually what we wanted to achieve from the beginning of our video. So by the recap, this is what we build. So this is just a real estate application which have the way to list all the properties. We have admin side where you can be able to manage this listing. So the admin can be able to manage these listings, to add, edit, and delete. They can also be able to publish them, mark them as sold, and everything like that. And they can be able to upload the images. And after that, the customers can be able to see the listing. They can do the filtering. They can do searching. They can clear the filters. They can, let's say, filter by featured only. And also they can be able to toggle this a way of listing. Like now we are on tiles, you can see we have this grid which is like in tiles, and you can switch to listing. So you can see this is the way they will be shown, and you can see the images are shown very well. You can see we can navigate to the next page. You see this is the next page. We can go back to the first page like this one. See, so they can filter them by listing type. You see now will be only for sale. If we switch back to the rent, you see we'll only see the properties that are on rent listing type. here you can see you can switch to homes, let's say apartment, let's say condo. You can search for villa. Okay, so all of these are working just as you expected. Okay, so you can also be able to search, let's say search for, let's say Tanga, you see, so you will see only the ones that are coming from that particular city. Okay, you can clear it, and after that the properties will be listed as expected. Okay, and after that we have everything that we need to see on the view details. So we were able to do the validation here. We are able to send the emails by using queues, and here you can be able to see the property details. So everything that we had has been working as we expected. So now this marks at the end of this particular tutorial. So if you find this tutorial helpful, please consider to like the video, share with your friends, and that's the way that you're supporting me. So see you on the next video where we'll be learning about something new that will be interesting, and see you.